Anybody hear me?
I can.
Okay. Just want to make sure when the sound comes on.
There you go.
Thanks.
All right. I would like to call the Village of Cottage Grove Plan Commission to order. We are holding this in Zoom again this evening. The Zoom is being recorded, and so the link to that is at the top of the agenda. There's also an option for those that choose to just call in, and the number and the meeting ID are also at the top of the agenda. So we will start with a roll call. So Lisa, can you do that for us?
Brinkmeyer.
Here.
Broom. Esthusian.
Here.
Ratcliffe.
Here.
Sale. Schultz.
Present.
Williams.
Present. All right, we have a quorum. The agenda was properly posted. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 4 is public appearances, public's opportunity to speak on any subject that is not a specific agenda item. So I will take a pause in a moment. Anybody from the public, please share your name, your address, and certainly share with us the topic you would like to bring up. I ask that you hold it to no more than 3 minutes in case we have a number of individuals that would like to speak. So with that, I'll be quiet. All right. If hopefully those that needed to hit unmute, they did. Move on then to item 5 is discuss and consider the meeting minutes from our last meeting on February 10th. I'll note that Kyle Broom has joined us. So Lisa, just so you know, give a wave, Kyle. Can you hear me? Yep. Okay, good. So with that, any questions, comments from commission members on the meeting minutes? Or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
All right, thank you, Alex. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Melissa. Motion and second. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries.
Aye.
Oh,
Don abstains.
okay. Thank you, Don. Then the next item is actually a public hearing. As commission members may know, that Continental has been working very hard on some of their plans and came up with some adjustments before it made it into your packet. So we can have the option of certainly continuing with the public hearing because it was posted and there are comments from the public, and Continental can provide the updates in their presentation, and would then perhaps we table the any type of action then tonight until staff has an opportunity to provide their input on the changes that were made. Or if the commission feels strongly, we certainly don't have to have the public hearing, and we can table that as well till our next plan commission. But I do see a number of public on the call, so I'll leave that to commission members and open it up to you, as well as if I got anything wrong, I'll turn it over to Rick as well from legal. Any commission members feel strongly?
Alex here. I have no issue with the public hearing, and then possible table number 7 when we get to it. If you have the public here and notice was provided, so it'd be good to hear at least the public's comments, I would think.
Okay.
I agree with Alex.
All right. Thank you, Fred. Any other comments from commission members, concerns? All right. Well, with that, then we can move ahead with at least the public hearing portion of this. And so this moves into open the public hearing. It's the opportunity to provide input regarding the proposed general development plan from Continental Properties for a 288 unit multi-unit development located on parcels 0711-09-93-9310-1 and parcel 0711-94-8501-0 and finally parcel 0711-094-8100-4 at the southeast corner of North Main Street and East Cottage Grove Road behind the Wisconsin Bank and Trust on that corner. What we do typically with a public hearing is we allow the developer to present and then staff, and then we open up comments and questions from the public, and then we close the hearing. So that's typically how it's done. A lot of times some of the questions that maybe the public may have will be answered by the developer or staff. So then we'll go through it that way. And I also have 3 emails that I'll share as well from members of the public. So these will keep me honest and remember that I need to cover that. So with that, I will turn it over to Eric from Continental to present. I don't know, Eric, if you want to share anything. The share button's kind of in the middle of the bottom screen of the Zoom.
Yep. Let me pull this up right now. Okay, can everybody see my screen all right?
We can.
All right, excellent, thank you. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'm Eric Thome, Senior Development Director with Continental Properties. In the audience tonight, we've got Max Sychek, who's a land planner with Continental, and Ryan Wagner, who's an engineer with V3. So tonight, we're just talking about the general development plan proposal, and I'll elaborate on the change we did in the site plan in just a minute. Just briefly a little bit more about Continental. We are a national multifamily hotel retail developer. We're based right here, Menominee Falls, just north of Milwaukee. As of 2020, we had 2,600 apartment homes in 19 states with 76 completed communities. We're conventionally financed projects, and we've got private equity partners that also supply the other side of the equation there. And we also develop, own, and manage all of our apartment communities. So we've got no third-party management. We have an internal management group here that manages all of our properties and our different brands. So just a little bit about us in the Madison area, specifically this larger map over here to the right kind of shows all of our different communities that we've developed. In Madison in particular, we built Springs of Sun Prairie just to the north. And right now we're under construction with Springs at Pleasant View out to the west of Madison, just north of Verona. Just a little bit of a picture of the site, in case anybody wasn't familiar. We're just right behind the Wisconsin Trust Bank back here. It's about a little over 20 acres of land back here. Again, you can kind of see the location map on a survey. I want to just draw attention, I'm sure staff's going to talk about this, that this land is currently zoned PUD in back of some retail commercial business districts. And the approved GDP plan has a certain amount of apartment buildings already approved on it, with a park that was considered to be donated at the time and some retention. Our original proposal that we sent in did the really similar theme, where we have 12 buildings, 288 different units, spread out between studio, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments. We were really trying to work with the grades on this project. If anybody's been out there, you understand that there's a lot of grade, and the break is about right here where my cursor is. And it was worked really hard with our engineering group to try and minimize cuts and the amount of retaining wall that might be required on the site. And you'll see that on this original plan, we had our club out here on the edge. After our management team went and took a look at the project, and our vice president of operations took a look at the project, we kind of reanalyzed where we would like the club in relation to the rest of the project. We have the club out here. It's a little bit separated from everything else, and we decided that we really want to do is more centrally locate the club. So let me show you here if it'll cooperate with me. It doesn't want to stick. So we moved the club house over here, right off the Cottage Road, line it up with Oak Street, figuring that in our viewpoint, we've got a lot more mass kind of in this area that touches a lot more of the residents instead of being out here on the edge. So we basically just swapped one of the buildings that we had up here in the front and replaced that with building 12, and then put the clubhouse out here. It did change the orientation of a couple buildings here, but our thought still of a future parkland dedication with some amenities back here, which we got to talk to the parkland about and work with staff on, would still be part of the proposal. So again, just really quickly, I'm talking about 288 direct first floor units. The second floor has 3 common hallways with like a quad built in it above each, kind of splitting the building up into thirds into each kind of quad unit. That door is security locked for those 4 apartments, and then they also have their own lock on their each individual unit. We're looking at a parkland dedication of about 11 acres still, and our home ranges range from about 540 square feet for a studio to about 1,350 square feet for a 3-bedroom. You can see our unit mix right here, 32, 112, 112, 32. And this really represents each building has that breakdown, so we don't have one building with just one massive unit type. So every unit type is spread across the whole community. So this is an authentic brand. So again, we're conventionally financed with bank equity. Our interior finishes are laminate black appliances, exteriors vinyl siding. There's no gate or fence on this community. We still have that same, actually, Continental management team that's in all of our branded communities, and we've also got pet-friendly detached garage options for any of the different community members we have. There's a couple of pictures of our clubhouse with the workout room we have. We've got a pet playground that we're putting in at the north half of the site, which I'm going to point out in a little bit. A shot of what the interior of the club would look like, and then kind of the pet wash back here. This would be attached to the pet playground that we would have, and also second to the car wash there. So a picture of the clubhouse, which has that 24-hour fitness facility, that demonstration-style kitchen, and a quick cafe with Wi-Fi throughout. One thing to kind of note, especially on this real elevation with the patio space that would come out here, the kitchen's back here. We can pass through right here at the kitchen to go out on the deck. And over here is where the fitness room is. You can roll up. This is actually a roll-up door that people can come out there on the patio and just kind of work out here if they need to when it finally does warm up like it has this week. Just a couple of shots of different apartment buildings themselves. Those are 2D, but you can kind of see the articulation here. I'm going to show a 3D elevation in a second. Different apartment type, a little bit more articulation on it. So the B building versus the A building. And here's a little bit better 3D rendering where you can really see these different building articulations pop. And also you can see that there's the common hallway doors would be right here with the single direct access first floor doors right next to them. Picture of the ancillary buildings, which would be the garage, the mail kiosk, and the eight-car garage with the pet car wash that I was just showing before. And a couple of unit isometrics, one being the studio, the 1 and 2 bedroom. I think it's good to note that all these bedroom spaces are very spacious. It's got room enough for a king-size bed from the 1 bedrooms and up. The studio has enough room for a queen-size bed back here kind of behind the kitchenette area. There's a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom. Couple things to note just about the spending power of a Authentics community, especially the Madison MSA. We are projecting that the average monthly rent in Authentics is probably going to be about $1,300. Now, what that equates to is about $990 a month for a studio apartment and about $1,640 for a 3-bedroom. So it's that kind of range. You can see that when you add up the total expenditures that a community can bring the whole rural area, it's about $16 million of spending. And not all of that would be in Cottage Grove, but it would be spread out over the entire area of Cottage Grove and the surrounding areas. So that's my quick presentation on the overall project. I'll take any questions if you have any on the differences of the site plan or anything else that the board might have at this point.
Any questions, at least initially, from commission members? I'll turn it over to staff momentarily from what at least they can discuss, though they're going to reevaluate some of the things, particularly engineering stuff, their comments. But any question from commission members?
I guess more of a comment than a question is, I guess I'd like to see enough garage space to keep as many cars out of parking lots per se. And I know initially you asked for less parking spots. I guess you got to, looking at that, I guess you got to, hopefully you had figured out where the snow is going to go when we have snow like we did this year.
Yep.
And also I'd like to see some masonry component, not only just on the clubhouse, but on the apartments as well.
Okay, thank you, Don. Other comments from commission members, and I'll turn it over to staff, and then we'll kick it to public. All right. Aaron, you want to comment on at least some of the items? Obviously, the clubhouse has moved its orientation and everything, but you did have a staff report in there, and then I'll kick it into Kevin as well.
Would you like me to stop the share of this presentation?
It's helpful to leave that up, actually, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Eric.
You bet.
Yeah, so I think the project is generally consistent with the comprehensive plan. It's designated as our central mixed-use area. Within that area, much of the site was designated for multifamily. It always has been, even when this was the original downtown plan that was looked at back around 2000 or so. That also had a pretty large multifamily component to it. Our frontage along Cottage Grove Road, further to the east of Oak Street, that frontage looks for townhouse type development, which this would comply with. To the west of Oak Street, the Building 1 area, we would have been looking for a little bit higher density building or a more urban building. Something we had talked about as a possible compromise was upgrading those finishes along that elevation. With this area that's being treated differently in the comp plan is also the area that's kind of changing the most in this version. I think we do want to go back and take a look at that in a little more detail before we make any recommendations on it. We now have the end caps on building 5 and 6 facing Cottage Grove Road, which may not be as attractive as the building fronts unless we treat those a little bit differently. I think that's something we'd have to kind of look at. Just speaking on Kevin's behalf, this may adjust how traffic is entering and leaving the site, just kind of switching the clubhouse and the multifamily. There could also be grading, stormwater type effects too. So I think we want to take a look at all of that and make the actual recommendations instead of trying to piece them together on the fly here in a meeting. I think some of the conditions in the staff report would still be applicable later. There was a signage concept provided that seemed acceptable, and I think Continental is possibly looking at tweaking that as well for the PIP, and we'll look at that when they do. Our list of conditions will reflect the differences in the base zoning to the PUD that are the reason that we have a PUD on the site. The biggest one is just the size of the buildings, the 24 units. We would be looking for a sidewalk along Cottage Grove Road. It looks like this revised version does have it, so that's good. The landscaping provided in the GDP was kind of an example of how a typical building would be landscaped. And it looked like an appropriate level of landscaping, but for the PIP, we will obviously need a whole landscaping plan that's specific to this site. Mm-hmm. Likewise, we would need photometric and exterior lighting details with the PIP. We'll want the applicant to talk to the fire department, make sure they can get their equipment in and out, and the area between 5 and 6, just looking at this revision, that might be a little bit more of a concern too, getting a fire truck around those, that parking area between them, but we'll have them look at that. And then park fees are something we're kind of continuing to work with as we talk to the Parks Committee with the applicant.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Any other comments from commission members before I review or read through some comments from residents, and then turn it over to anybody who wants to comment who's on the Zoom?
Hey, John, did you want me to list anything that we had as well?
I didn't know you were on, Kevin. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Please go ahead. Kevin's with our engineering group.
Well, some of my comments obviously might still pertain. They're more some overarching ones for the general site, and Aaron did touch on some of them as well. Some of our comments, like Aaron mentioned, was the sidewalk along Cottage Grove Road, which they appear to have shown on here right now. We've been requesting urbanization along Cottage Grove Road as well with the projects as they go. We'll have to work with timing as to between the south side and north side of that and when that's applicable and everything as well. But urbanization of Cottage Grove Road with curb and gutter and everything throughout. I think Aaron mentioned the monument signs that will require permits at that time. We did have some traffic items that they were going to review and look at that'll be coming forward. We recommended a right turn lane into the site off of Cottage Grove Road. And then at the time we recommended for sure a right and a left turn lane off of Main Street, which may require basically kind of moving the curb and gutter on the east side of the street to the east to allow for additional room there, as there's parking on the west side of the street right now as well. The idea is to obviously having a left turn lane coming in so you don't back up right after the traffic signal as you're heading south downtown or anything like that. So those were some comments we had regarding traffic. Some utility comments were mainly just looping the water throughout the site. And then the water and sewer, when we had a discussion with them, was planned to be public. So we would want easements and accessibility for the village for maintenance on those throughout. And then we were going to work with the developer on how the multi-unit buildings were going to be furnished as far as single services or individual units services. There's a lot of comments that we had on here regarding stormwater, which we've touched with them. I'm not going to go into all the details of it, but in general, there's kind of a divide of the watershed, basically right through kind of the middle of the site, kind of running northeast, southwest. And for them to, they've got a pond shown in the very southeast corner down there with infiltration requirements, or infiltration pond down there as well as a wet pond. However, if they're going to have to, obviously, if infiltration is going to be necessary, they got to do all their testing to prove all that. And then to obviously get water from the, northwest side to the southeast side as well, with no additional ponds, between them and the bank area in there. So that could be a little challenging as well, due to the hill and everything through there, depending on what kind of grading is being done. So those were kind of the main items. There's some more technical information in here that's more for them to look at as they go through it. I guess if anybody's got any questions, we can, but those are items for them to basically look at throughout that they'll have to deal with the stormwater as needed. So that's really all I had, John.
All right, thanks, Kevin. And this is a typical process too for any developer doing a project this size, or even a small project. I did have some feedback that funneled in through Aaron on the development. I'll just read these emails and then I'll turn it over to the public for any comments there. First one is from Loretta Johnson. Again, several questions here in the email, and then ultimately concerned about the impact to our schools and our taxes. Next one, and then these will be included in for public record. Lisa's got these already taken care of. Next one is from Stephanie Karuch Dowell. Probably not pronouncing that correctly. From Rural Run Street. She's hoping to get on the Zoom tonight, and she may actually speak. So, items here, reason to that they located on Rural Run is the nice view across the way. So they're concerned about the impact of the view, and then how this will affect the value of their home with rental properties so close. Will property taxes go up as well against suggested proposal ultimately? And then finally, from Jeffrey Cord, looking at comments around the spectrum of a small town atmosphere, create more traffic, crime in the area with such a large development. And then ultimately, please do not accept this proposal, not a good fit for the area. So those were the three items feedback as far as email.
I had one more email that came in just before the meeting.
Okay, Lisa.
From Nick Whipperforth from 705 Willow Run, just asking that he hopes that part of the 11 acres dedicated to the public parkland would include a dog park section for the general public.
All right, thank you, Lisa. And with that, the public hearing still being open, I would like to pause again. If you'd like to speak on this particular development, please provide your name, your address, and your comments, and please hold your comments to no more than 3 minutes so that if we have a lot of folks that want to talk, we get them all in here. So with that, we'll open that up to anyone who wants to comment.
I would.
Okay.
Laura Riedel, I'm at 563 North Main Street. It does seem like an awful large development. I know they're also building the one down Shady Acres, whatever that one is. So there's a lot of building going on. But in regards to this one, when would they be looking at starting this project? And then I'm also wondering a couple things like, are the colors that are out there the colors that the buildings will be? Because I know I've seen funky colors. So I was just kind of concerned about that. I'm wondering what the distance is to the first building kind of off of Main Street now that the clubhouse and everything is moved, and how that road exactly would work in the access road there, and then there's also the school parking lot. Are those two separate entries? Because there is a lot of congestion on Main Street, so I was kind of wondering about that, and that's about it.
All right. Thank you, Laura.
Would you like me to address that, John, or?
Yeah, I think that would be, I mean, this is the opportunity to do that, certainly.
Okay. I'm going to try. I took some notes. I'm hoping I get all of them. But if I don't, please let me know. But what we would project our starting time to be would be this fall, probably in the third quarter. And we would start construction with grading, putting utilities in this fall. And we would start construction going vertical on at least the clubhouse portion and probably these buildings 5, 6, 4, 1 and 2, if we can, depending on the winter we have, right away with the club and the first building coming up and opening in the spring. And then basically how we construct these buildings is that we kind of have our trades folks come through, and as we kind of go, it kind of works as an assembly line where we'll have the concrete guys pour the foundations, the nibble to the next building, and we'll have our lumber guys come in and do all the vertical, and then the finishing guys will come in after that. So it just kind of heads on out the site, kind of like a train. And we would put buildings into operation as soon as they get sign off from inspectors, and then we would open them up to residents. So that whole process takes about 12 to 18 months. So we could, if we start early enough in fall, possibly finish the whole project up by the end of 2022, or depending on the winter, it could push into 2023 with maybe a couple of buildings that we would need to finish up on the back end, but the site would be largely finished by 2022. As far as colors, those are the proposed colors that we have right now. We're definitely open to feedback on those colors. We do have other color schemes that we've looked at, so if that's something that the commission would like us to look at, we can do that. But these will be our preferred colors. Your comment about the driveways, yeah, the school driveway is actually a little bit further. It's kind of out of the picture here, but it is a little bit further to the south. And so there are two separate driveways, two separate properties. There's actually, if you drive by there, you probably notice that there's a very large uphill at the edge of this property that goes up to the school parking lot. So there's a little bit of distance there and quite a bit of grade there. One of the advantages of us moving our clubhouse from this side to Cottage Grove, it does pull, we think, more traffic from Main Street and put it more on Cottage Grove. There's a little bit more room, and it pulls it away a little bit from the school. So we think that might be a benefit. And we'll talk to staff about how the traffic will work, as Kevin and Aaron were talking before. But that's our hope, too, in moving the club over. Trying to think if there was another. I think you asked about the first building distance.
Yeah.
Are you talking about off of Cottage Grove Road right here?
Like building number 12, about
Oh, 12
how
over there.
far off Main Street will all these buildings start? Is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, so the end of building 12 in here, it's kind of hard because if you're standing the sidewalk that's right there, we're probably 50 or more feet away right there. I don't know if Max, if you've got the actual engineering drawing up, if you want to chime in quick or send me a text, I can kind of tell you what that is in a second. But part of what we're trying to do is kind of hug, similar to what the bank building was doing over here. We're trying to hug that edge while we're still also working with some grade. If you notice back here, back of the bank, this slope goes uphill pretty fast. So that's the other thing we're trying to do with these buildings is kind of work with that. We're also trying to maintain a little bit more of that frontage along Cottage Grove, and we'll work with staff on these building orientations. But that's kind of, we're trying to push these up. And one of the staff comments was even eliminating our private sidewalk and hooking into the public sidewalk, which we would be open to do. So that may mean that these buildings get a little bit closer, because I think that's kind of the concept that staff wants. And I just got a message from Max. We are about 100 feet from the road right here to the corner, approximately. So if that gives you a distance, since that's a physical piece and you're out there, from the property line is about 50, but the property line is kind of arbitrary. So if that helps you kind of gauge what that distance would be.
Okay. Yeah, and I do like the colors that are selected if they go. There's just some that are like reds and yellows and blues and kind of not my liking.
No, we definitely want to go with that muted tone that's more of a earthy kind of, that fits in with the area, and we feel like that color mix is the right mix. So appreciate your feedback.
And just so everybody knows, the Continental will also have a neighborhood meeting at some point, so that gives you a more of an intimate setting to ask questions that you may also have. So that's part of this process, so that yet has to occur. So Continental will be setting that up with residents in the area of this proposed development, and give you an opportunity to ask all kinds of questions if you choose to, or provide your feedback. So with that, I will pause again to see if there's anybody else from the public that would like to share their thoughts.
Gotta wait till you.
Hello?
Got a lot of feedback from whoever's trying to speak.
Dennis Schultz. Dennis and Marcia Schultz, 249 East Cottage Grove Road. Some of our concerns are that the one thing, I thought the retention pond would sit better at the bottom of the hill with the grade and provide a little more setback from the road. Also, in the previous drawing, there was a car care center in there. Are they going to allow repairs? What else did you have?
Well, you don't.
Will there be more information available about lighting? This is press Alt A. Okay.
What is he supposed to press?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Some of our concerns, like I said, was if the park and the retention pond were closer to East Cottage Grove Road, it would give a buffer and provide the park would be down there, it'd be closer, that the public could use the park as well. What else did you have?
The water.
Well, yeah, we're concerned about the traffic, but you kind of answered that.
About having the traffic study done for the spring traffic, for the farmers to come in and out in the fall and the winter, or fall and the spring. and anybody take into account how this is going to affect our schools, our police, our EMS, our fire? Has anybody talked about that yet? Consulted with any of these departments, especially schools? Right now, we're building a brand new school to house the 5th and 6th graders. We put up Glacier Drumlin School. I believe that might have been 2017 that went up, and that was to house the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grades. They now are to maximum almost 900 students. If you are talking 2 to 3 bedroom apartments, you're also talking more children. Just on an average, if you put one child in each unit, you would have approximately 250 to 275 more students coming into our school district. How is that going to affect already a school that is being built that probably will not adequately be able to handle the students? Needless to say, any of our elementary buildings. Let me look some more. Accessibility to the park. Is that something that will be put in by the construction company, or is that something that we will need to put in, and will that be something that we will be taxed on? I guess I'm really concerned about how much this is going to increase our taxes. I also agree with the 3 emails that were sent in. I just do not think this is a place for 12 units like this. I can't imagine something like that amount of concrete across from us. I think there are other areas. I would like to see if anybody had thought of anything else for that development of land. There's four of us here, so I'm going to just see if there's anybody else that wants to get in on this. Jeff, do you want to say anything? Hello?
Turn your microphone off.
Turn my
Hello, this is Jeff Shep. Hello?
We can hear you, Jeff.
Okay. My wife and I live at 245 East Cottage Grove Road, and some of the concerns I have is traffic in the spring and fall is terrible here with farm work, and there is a lot of traffic, and people don't drive by the speed limit to begin with, and I think it's going to be an issue. Number 2, not just because I live across the street from it, I think you picked the worst place possible to do it. There has to be way too much landscape change to make this work. There's other places in the village that it maybe could happen where you wouldn't have to put so much into the infrastructure. And another thing is, do we need this many apartments in the village of Cottage Grove? That I feel is a big question to be answered. I have other questions too. I believe there should be a traffic study done before this thing goes forward. That's just the way I feel about it. You can understand as neighbors of this how we feel about this. I really don't want to look at apartments. That's just the way I feel about it, and I think there should be a lot more thought go into it before this even goes forward. Moving the clubhouse where you did, I don't believe is a good idea either. You're pretty much taking away a tranquil piece of land that now is going to be basically 24 hours. There's going to be a lot of traffic. There's going to be a lot of lighting to deal with that we don't deal with now. Noise.
Activity.
What impact it has on the fire and police, I don't know about that. But I can't stress enough that I think you have probably picked the worst place possible to develop this. To find some flatter land would probably be a better bet. And I don't know if this question was asked, but is this going to be a TIF district? Do you know if it is?
This isn't a TIF district, Jeff.
What's that?
It is in a TIF district, yes. It has been for a long time.
Okay, it is a TIF district. Okay.
It's
So
how you
how
get
is that going to affect our taxes and our home values? I mean, that's kind of important to us. Can anybody answer that?
I can try to answer that. What do you mean by how it would affect your affect in which way?
Well, in a TIF district, somebody's going to have to pay the taxes that they're not going to pay. So who's going to pay them?
That's a common misconception. Properties in TIF districts still pay the full taxes.
Well, the full taxes are still paid. Then why is it why do they consider it that then?
That's a whole other type of discussion on, that could be a whole presentation on TIF districts, but they're created so the village can potentially incentivize development and pay for public infrastructure and things like that. The village actually collects the entire tax rate, and the other taxing jurisdictions such as the school district and county, they forego collecting any new increment or taxes that are generated on this property for about 20 years. So the village keeps all of it during that time, anything new that's created, any new revenue, and the village can use that to help improve Cottage Grove Road, for instance, or the intersection that was improved, and also to potentially provide incentives to development.
Why was there such a late notice given on this as far as our feedback to this? If you knew what was going on for a while, I kind of curious about that. And I'm hoping that this meeting or whatever I was told there's going to be that could be in person, because this virtual stuff, you really don't get your point across. I think it works for what it needs to right now, but I think it's safe enough from everything we hear that if we wear masks, it should be a safe meeting. Do you disagree with that?
Hello there.
I vote no to the meeting.
All right. Well, thank you. Jeff, we'll move on. I think you've had.
Hello. I was trying to talk for a while. I was having problems with my phone to connect. We live in Olive Street. We're pretty close to the school. I am not sure if this is being discussed, but having a property close to school, nobody's been thinking about crime. Nobody's been thinking about people that they will have any type of situation with children. There is child molesters, people that they have problem with sexual, background. Even they are not, in the system, we are not quite sure who's gonna be by our kids. And that is my concern. So I don't know, even there are a lot of people in those type of buildings, no matter how much they pay, they can also sell drugs. So I am not quite sure what is really a good investment for us. Since we were trying to keep the village, with low crime. So I am not sure if this is going to be a good idea. Besides, it's true about increasing the amount of children going to school. I think it's going to be disrupting the village. It has to be considering also that stuff.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else have any comments?
Yes, my name is Joanne Shep. I live at 245 East Cottage Grove Road. We've been there 5 years. The reason we picked this area is due to the tranquil environment, and it was residential. And what we have found in the last 5 years is this. This road is heavily used by Deer Grove Ambulance, rightfully so. This is an ambulance that does not do the speed limit, which they do not have to when they're in an emergency situation. And you're going to have all these apartments where people are going to go in and out, in and out. This is a very congested, dangerous proposal to knowing that the ambulances make use of this road. Another thing is you wanted to move your clubhouse closer to Cottage Grove Road. And in that process of doing that, it invades the privacy of the residents. You said that will be open 24 hours. That is including then lights, higher noise volume, people activity, very agitating to a quiet residential area, besides having the ambulance go through there. Also, we feel that the beauty and the wildlife is essential to anybody's peace, and this was naturally there and it would be destroyed. Plus the grading, this is a very hilly area. We have been in a new residential area. We were the second house in Sun Prairie in a residential area built up. And what happened is there's lots of dust, lots of noise, lots of cranes, lots of bells, lots of whistles from vehicles backing, lots of pounding. This is most annoying to a residential area, especially if you're going to have 288 apartments. Thank you.
Thank you.
So maybe I can address just I've heard a couple of things maybe about the clubhouse, just to maybe clarify a couple things. The clubhouse would only have normal business hours where it would be open to the public. So it would only be open from about 8 a.m. in the morning to about 6 p.m. at night. That's when the primary rental happens out of the club.
But you did say 24 hours. You did say 24 hours, and that means people will hold you to that.
The fitness center is open 24 hours for the residents only. They have a key that they can access to get into the fitness center area to utilize it, and that's because people work first, second, third shift. So we want to give them that opportunity. As far as the vetting of different residents, our management team vets we do a criminal background check, we do a rent check, see how they've paid the rent in the past if they're a renter. We do a 3 times income check to make sure that they can afford the apartment themselves. And we can decline a renter for any reason. We have several different rules and noise rules internally. We've got 24-hour maintenance staff that we have on site. We are pet friendly, but that doesn't mean that we're not aware that pets need to have restrictions. So, for instance, we have what we call doggy DNA poop prints, where every dog in this community, if you have one, you get a swab on that dog, and if we catch some waste that continually happens, we'll find the individual that owns that pet, and then that's an escalating scale, and eventually it can be cause for termination of that particular renter on the site. So there's a variety of things that we have to make sure that our community operates, and everybody being very good neighbors to everybody else, not in the community, but to the surrounding community itself. So we take a lot of pride having our own management company. We don't want our community to get degraded in any way. We're interested in keeping the community as a whole at an upkeep high level. We're asking for very good rents for this area, and we're going to stay on top of it. And you can see, if you go to our Sun Prairie location just to the north, you're going to see the kind of level of maintenance that we do there. We do the same level here.
All right. Anybody else from the public want to comment?
I have a concern I'd like to address, John. My name's Rachel McVeigh. I live at 541 North Main Street. So from what I can see on this, it looks like that entrance is literally right across the street from my driveway. And I can tell you in the mornings, right between 6:45 and 7 a.m., it is extremely difficult to get out of your driveway to even go to work because you have kids walking down the sidewalks. You have parents dropping kids off. So you're not only looking for kids, you're trying to back out at the same time and trying to make sure you don't get hit by another car. And I think that entrance is going to just make North Main Street even more congested in the mornings for school purposes too. So that would be one concern there. And the fact that just in particular, that whole intersection between Cottage Grove and Main Street is extremely busy. I don't think that there's going to be tons of accidents and tons of issues with it, I feel.
I'm wondering if you can hear me right now. Can you hear me?
And you are?
My name is Steve Hankey, and I live at 544 Ollie Street, which is pretty close to the property that you're proposing. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So I've been on the website, and I've been on my phone, and now I've had to come to another phone. It's almost like this is set up to not allow a person to speak on your website. That's it's very clear to me. Anyways, we have a beautiful wildlife area right next to our children's public school, and you want to build a huge monumental transient apartment complex set up for your benefit. That's not the benefit of Cottage Grove. And I'm pretty sure I could probably safely speak for most of Cottage Grove in this respect, that building a transient apartment building into a beautiful wildlife reserve would not only be unworthy, but it would be disruptive. It would be right next to our smallest of children, which are our biggest priority in our lives is our children. But you want to build this right next to our grade school. I mean, I don't know what you're thinking other than money. And you're moving your pool and your bicycle area around and your fitness gym and all your nonsense. No, I say, you know what? Don't even think about coming here. That's what I say. I don't think you're welcome here. I think most of the people would say you're not welcome here. And I hope this plan gets shut down immediately, because it's just nonsense. It's ridiculous. You want to build a big public thing right next to our school. And that's about all I got to say about it. You're going to lower all the property values in everybody around this area. People in here love our small town ethics. We love our small town and our community. We love our children. We love our small children in our community school. And you want to disrupt that by coming in from wherever you flow in from to build some monumental complex with a weightlifter room and bicycles and whatever else nonsense you're talking about. And I think it's inappropriate, and I hope that everybody else hears me.
All right. Thanks for your feedback. We did hear you. Anybody else from the public like to speak?
John, I had one more concern. I got kind of cut off there a little bit. This is Rachel again.
Yes, please.
My last concern was for that big of a complex area and that many units, is there any type of security that's going to be offered over there?
I will refer that to the developer, and you can add to that after everybody else gets their comments. Anybody else has any comments? Thank you, Rachel. Anybody else in the Zoom or on the phone have any other comments?
I would just like to say as a final thing that I agree with everyone on a lot of things that they have said, that if I had to take a vote, I would prefer that it was not built there.
All right, thank you, Laura. And again, there'll be a neighborhood meeting, so you can have further discussion with the developer for those that are right around the proposed development. Any other comments from either citizens, residents?
Yes, this is Joanne Shep, and I vote against this, especially since my front yard is 400 feet from your proposed site. I feel my privacy is invaded, and if I would have known that any of this was going to happen 5 years ago, I never would have bought the house we are in. So thanks a lot.
All right, thank you. Any other resident wants to speak about the proposed development?
Hi, this is Teresa Bentler. I live pretty close, and I'm just wondering, I'm on Ollie Street. I'm just wondering, have you guys looked at any other properties in Cottage Grove besides this particular spot? It just seems a little centrally located on the corner of the little village that we live in. So just wondering, we have the two other big apartment complexes over by Gaston that are currently still being filled and being built. I know it's a desired area, Cottage Grove is, but I'm just wondering if there's any other properties that you're looking at in the village.
All right, thanks for your comment. Anyone else? And then I'll turn it back over to Eric, and then I'll... All right, again, there'll be a neighborhood meeting on this as it moves forward, so residents who are in the area will be able to provide feedback to the developer as well. This is kind of how the process works. So at this time, I will close the public hearing portion of this. I'll allow the developer to hopefully answer some of the questions that were proposed, additional questions that were proposed, and then turn it over to commission members. So, Eric?
Yeah.
A few questions in there.
Yeah, I think I answered a couple of them already, but as far as I guess the most recent one, the location question, we did look at other areas in Cottage Grove. What attracted us about this location in particular was that it did have the location that we were looking for. I mean, it's already guided for this type of development, and it's a great location, we feel, not only for the existing community here, but also for folks that right now live and work in the Madison area. So this is why we decided on that this was a great location for our community. I think I already talked a little bit more about our operations staff and how we vet our individual folks that want to be a part of our community. I talked about traffic a little bit. I can tell you with lighting and a couple of the other comments that were made, we're going to have to comply when we get to the specific plan about those lighting plans, that they won't spill over outside of the property line. We can get shielding so that we can have that downcast, unlike a lot of retail centers that have those huge lights, or a car lot. We're not set up like that. Being a community, we keep our lights a lot closer to the ground, maybe about 10 feet at the most. A lot of times, most of the lighting is just attached to the buildings themselves, so we don't have a big light footprint, and we'll be happy to share the details of that when we get to that stage of the process. The car care center, I heard a comment about that. That is not for doing automotive in the community. We actually prohibit cars being worked on within the community. We'll fine you if you're out there working on your car. It's just basically a car wash area that also has a pet wash attached to it. So it's not meant to be an automotive area to fix your car. So hopefully I cleared that up as well. I think that was the majority that I had written down. I'm sure there's maybe a couple I missed that when I go back to the notes, we have a neighborhood meeting I'll try and address at that point.
All right. Any questions or comments from commission members at this point?
A few comments, John.
All right, Alex, please.
I guess I just want to start off by thanking the public for being here. I've been part of the government and stuff for quite a while, served on the village board as well as committees, and nothing's worse than having meetings with no public input. So first of all, I think it's a treat to have a team of people here that's passionate about their community. I do encourage everybody to continue to do their homework and then continue to keep an eye out for all things government, not just when it comes up to your property line. This is a tax district area. It's been open for probably 15 or so years. Not having structures on this property is actually a burden to the village as opposed to having it developed. It's also been in the Plan Commission, our planning documents for quite a long time to have something developed here. So I think I encourage you to continue to participate and continue to keep an eye out for documents and research the comprehensive plan that's on the village website. Eric, I guess my comments I don't have, and again, these aren't really necessarily for answer for today. Just some of my thoughts of the revised proposal here. I still have a lot of questions, or there still seems to be a lot of questions about the park and the wetlands and how that's going to be dispositioned. You've mentioned that's sort of open-ended at this point. So I think finalizing those details would really help me understand the final outcome of this development. The moving of the rec center, I'm going to call it a rec center, sorry, is interesting. And I wonder what and again, this is for your homework, not to put you on the spot. Building 12, if that wasn't there, how does that affect your economics in creating additional green space, additional buffer space on the east side there? You're right. You move that over. You bring that clubhouse over to a denser area for easier access. 10 and 11, they're now the furthest outreaches if we created additional green space potentially. It's just a comment looking at that. Other things I look for, trash removal, what does that type of thing look like? And I think you talked about that maybe in a prior meeting. It was a dumpster crawler, it was bins for each individual. And I do also sort of echo some of the comments. We've asked for this several other developments over the past years about that traffic study. Cottage Grove Road continues to get widened. Cottage Grove Road is a busy road as people are coming into Madison. And so we always sort of look for that traffic study. So again, I'm not looking for specific answers right now because I know there's more to come. Thank you to the public for coming out and really being passionate about the community. I continue to, please continue to do your research and participate in these meetings. And thank you to developers who are interested in Cottage Grove. And as we look to grow the community and grow amenities for our residents. So thank you, John.
All right. Other comments from commission members?
I have one. Has the fire department seen this? Because some of these turn radiuses look pretty tight to me.
I know that, Fred, that was an ask earlier. I think Aaron had mentioned that. So I don't know if Continental's gotten a chance to get this in front of the fire department yet or not, or EMS, quite frankly. But certainly they've done other developments, so they'll have to kind of go through that process as well.
And then I would just say that or significantly reduced in size.
All right. As I mentioned earlier, because staff did not get kind of the move of the clubhouse and stuff, so they need to look at some of the particulars and details of this. We wanted to, perhaps if there wasn't any strong dissent against moving forward with the public hearing, we did that.
You want a motion to table, John?
Yeah, item 7, discuss proposed development, general development agreement. I think if this does get approved, it doesn't impact the timeline necessarily, but it does give staff really a good opportunity to take a look at the details, and Continental certainly understands that.
So, John, you want a motion to table then? Is that what you're?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to table item number 7. Do I have to read the whole thing? Is that legal? Do I have to read that? Motion to table the proposed general development plan from Continental Properties for a 288 multi-unit family residential development located on the southeast corner of North Main Street and East Cottage Grove Road.
Second.
All right, and then with that motion, is that just, again, clarifying the need for staff input, correct? Both Alex and Fred?
Correct. Direction for staff to provide input at the next meeting.
Okay, and Fred, you're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second to table item 7, the general development agreement for Continental. Is there any further discussion? All right, with that then, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Tabled. All right. And we'll move on then to another public hearing, opening of a public hearing. In this case, it is an opportunity for public to provide input on the proposed ordinance 0-1-2021 regarding the keeping of chickens in the village of Cottage Grove. So we heard a little bit about this in a prior meeting. Now this is actually a full-fledged public hearing. Aaron, you want to give the background on this ordinance?
We talked about this last time. Basically, all the elements that we talked about last time are in the ordinance. This is just kind of formatted as an ordinance, a little more formally. And we are required to have the public hearing prior to any approval of this. But as far as the substance goes, it hasn't changed from the previous version that we looked at.
And this kicked out of some residents asking about this in other communities, both on the county level and the city and other small communities like us, changing this along, small, a few chickens in a residential thing, no roosters, around the sustainability of food source and that type of thing. So it's something that's was originally propagated by some residents. So that's why it's here. And the public hearing is the opportunity for public to comment on that, which is also in Aaron's memo. All right, I'll pause and allow anybody from the public again. Please state your name, your address, and your comments, and please hold those to 3 minutes or less if you do have comments, so that if we do have a lot of folks that want to talk, we can get them all in. All right. Don't see anybody trying to hit the mute button or whatever to get in on commenting on this ordinance. If that's the case, I will close the public hearing portion of this and move on for item 9 is for the commission to discuss and consider the ordinance 01-2021 regarding keeping of chickens in Cottage Grove. So I'll turn that over to
I move approval of ordinance 01-2021 regarding the keeping of chickens in the village of Cottage Grove.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Alex. Any further discussion from the commission? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right. We're in the throes of public hearings tonight. Item 10 is I'll open up a public hearing opportunity for the public to provide input regarding the proposed ordinance 02-2021 regarding temporary fences. So I will pause again, ask the public if you want to speak, please share your name, your address, and hold your comments to no more than 3 minutes. So that if we do have a lot of folks that want to speak on this particular proposed ordinance, we do get them all in. So with that, I'll pause and allow anybody to jump in on that.
Do you want a reminder what this is about again?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please.
We talked about this last time. Generally, this is, again, just more formally written up as an ordinance, but basically just specifying snow fences have to be placed seasonally, not whenever, and we're granting the inspector the right to remove any temporary fence or structure that's not kept in a neat and safe manner.
Thanks, Aaron. And anybody from the public that would like to comment on this, please do so now. Nobody feels strongly either about fences or chickens, apparently, which is fine. All right, then I will close the public hearing portion of this and move on to item 11, and that's to discuss and consider ordinance 02-2021 regarding temporary fences. Any comments from the commission members or a motion for consideration?
I move approval of ordinance 02-2021 regarding temporary fences.
Thank you, Fred. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Oh, Melissa.
A second.
There's a lot of seconds in there. Lisa will sort it out. It's got it recorded. Motion second then to approve the ordinance regarding temporary fences. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Oops, there we go. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Item 12 is an update from me regarding the feedback from the town of Cottage Grove regarding potential boundary agreement. So the commission heard about this. I think we actually had a closed session back in January. And I met with the town chair, Chris Hampton, on the 10th of February. It's been a little bit, but we didn't get into the agenda for February. Just a summary of Chris's comments regarding this. The town is still interested in the 40-year agreement for all this. And again, this is all. This is a boundary agreement that was proposed to include the city of Madison, the town of Cottage Grove, and the village. Again, all of us trying to work towards establishing boundary agreements so that we have certainty around that. And again, it has to be agreeable certainly to all three entities when it comes to that. So again, Chris's feedback is again the interest in a 40-year agreement. His comment around keeping all areas of Area C as a buffer. Remember that the commission had a comment around an area north of BB, potentially having that in Area 2, which is the area of village development. And again, the commission commented about interest in areas along Vilas, for instance, the Wyden-Olson annexation there as well, and then having buffers like the golf course and wetlands and floodplains. Of course, would prefer the town would prefer that we suspend the ETJ in Area C, and noted that most of the area in D was in the village comp plan. I think there was a discussion there on some of those, with Area D not being maybe perhaps totally developable, but they're in the comp plan. So that was, again, the chair of the town, comments from the town. So we do have, again, because it's a negotiation, we do have an item in closed session to cover this for the commission if you feel strongly. But again, I wanted to share that feedback from the town on this particular boundary agreement discussion. Any comments from commission members? All right. Then at this point, the commission will go into, I'll make a motion for the commission to go into closed session to discuss the boundary agreement negotiation position for potential agreements involving the town of Cottage Grove and the city of Madison. The village of Cottage Grove will enter a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, parentheses 1, parentheses E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of properties, the investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business wherever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, in this case, the boundary agreement negotiations. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Fred. Then any discussion on this? Otherwise, we will have a roll call vote to enter closed session. So, Lisa?
Brinkmeyer,
Aye.
Broom,
Aye.
Vashishин,
Aye.
Radcliffe,
Aye.
Sale, Schultz,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye. So those that are maybe still with us, we are going to jump on to a different Zoom, and we'll come back to this following the closed session. And again, if there's any consideration from the closed session, that will be covered in the public portion of this, as well as future agenda items. So just letting everybody know that. So we're going to jump off this right now.